Okay, so I finished NaNoWriMo day 2 early morning yesterday. And all day I just kept thinking like, wow, these first 2 entries are really dry. It's like not that entertaining. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna write a paragraph or something that takes place like way later in this story. I'm gonna challenge myself again. I'm gonna be like, okay, so I have to build up to this. I have to include this. And so yeah, here's a sneak peek of what's to come, and even I don't know how I'm going to get to it, but here we go. The doctor's hands flew across the console as the transparent pinkish tendril snaked through the interdimensional rift. A half-crazed snicker crept from the doctor's lips. Bro, if we help end the world, my dad's gonna kill me, Brad shouted over the ear-splitting airbursts. Callie clicked her tongue with an eye roll. They managed to barricade themselves a short distance from Red and Voy. Yeah, and if we survive, I'm gonna kill you, Red jabbed a finger at Voy. I didn't... How could I have predicted this? Yeah, there's our sneak peek. I'm gonna get wild with this, I guess. The fiery snowflake main character perched opposite the desk of Red, his knee bouncing with a sort of nervous energy. His eyes flickered about the room, taking in the finished wood along the walls and the crystal clear windows overlooking the city beyond. He had a curious and anxious energy. He was dressed in a soft button-down shirt with a light blue tie bound around his neck like he failed an online tutorial. Clearly, this main character was not used to these sort of meetings. Red wasn't even certain what he was wearing. Oh, right, a green sweater vest and yellow dress shirt. They were the next clothes in line hanging in his closet that morning. Red heaved a breath. He suspected he knew exactly how this conversation was going to go. After a few introductions and basic chatter, the kid would pitch some cliché-ridden schlock that couldn't even fill up a 50,000-word novel with a flimsy plot that can't even carry a NaNoWriMo challenge. Then Red would have to shoot his hopeful dreams down with a shotgun stuffed with cold reality bullets like an old dog in a field. Sucking air between his teeth, Red waited for the office ritual to commence. He tried not to slouch in his chair. Thank you so much for agreeing to meet with me, Mr. Red. Don't mention it. It's my job. What's your name, kid? My name's Voy. I'm originally from the Hook province in Literaria. It's a pretty unique name. What's your story, Voy? As the word left his lips, Red knew that there was no turning back. Voy had those big golden brown eyes you see on a golden retriever. It makes the strongest men hesitate to scold or punish. At least a dog would snap back to wagging their tail by tomorrow. Hopefully the kid with a snowflake mark wasn't the sensitive type. So, I don't actually have one yet. Red's chair shrilled a creak as he sat up suddenly. Red cleared his throat and composed himself for a second. What? You do know how this all works, right? I'm a narrator. I narrate your story. I don't make it up. No, I know that. So, yes, usually the main character, he gestured to himself with both hands, acts as the anchor for an author to see into and affect our world, and whatever follows is written by the narrator in conjunction with the author. But I think I need to do something different for, Voy avoided eye contact. National Novel Writing Month. Red slid back in his chair, massaging the wrinkled bridge of his nose. You seem like a nice kid. Really, you do. I'm sure you have a great adventure ahead of you someday. But if an author hasn't taken you on any noteworthy escapade, then I can't exactly help. After a second of silence, he added, Plus, I don't tend to touch NaNoWriMo protagonists with a 39.5-foot pole. Gripping the arms of the chair, Voy animated, leaning forward with some kind of found determination. You haven't even heard me out. You said you don't have a story. The places this conversation can go after that line are severely limited. You need to be patient. At some point, my author's not good enough, Voy snapped. A thick silence would have settled over the office if not for the chatter and phone rings from other rooms and floors and the incessantly ticking clock on the wall refusing to stop for even a second. Some bizarre distant clanging echoed through the heating vents. Let me get this straight. Red propped his elbows on his desk, folding his hands. You come to see a narrator without a story. You insult your author, who could very, very easily orchestrate your death at the drop of a hat. And you do all of this in a bid for me to hear you out? Apparently. No, Red admitted this was not what he was expecting from this meeting. In fact, he might have preferred a vampire romance pitch. A heavy sigh wove its way into Red's lungs. He turned to check the clock. My lunch break is in 14 minutes, he pointed. You have 14 minutes to talk. And even after that, I can promise very little. A slight flicker passed Voy's eyes. Hope? Ideally, Red hoped he didn't get the kid's hopes up. Okay, Voy laid his hands flatly against his legs. Okay, I've had a lot of false starts. I've lost track of how many inciting incidents fizzled out and my story just wasn't finished. I believe that my author keeps trying to send me on an adventure of some kind, but I don't know. Maybe they don't have the motivation or the drive. Maybe they're diagnosed with ADHD. I don't exist in their world, so it could be anything. This got me thinking, though, was there any way for me to push them to finish the story? Red cocked an eyebrow. Where was the kid going with this train of thought? 13 minutes remained. That's when I got an idea. Have you heard of this internet platform called YouTube? How old do you think I am? Never mind. Let me go on. Voice stuttered. Right. So this YouTube, it's often used as a medium to tell stories and also allow the author to engage with their peers. So I thought, all the false starts, all the failed NaNoWriMo attempts, what if I got them to promise an audiobook-style adventure on YouTube? To bind themselves in an oath to their peers to finally finish my story. But I would need a narrator on board for the author to still take part in NaNoWriMo. The crease on Red's forehead deepened with every word Voy uttered. 11 minutes remained. What kind of backwater crackpot plan is that? It was rhetorical. Red sighed. Listen, kid. I'm a narrator. I work with words on a page. You're suggesting an entirely separate medium. No, what you're describing is a multimedia scheme that goes far, far beyond my call of duty. If you want some kind of web series, audiobook, or whatever the hell this is, then here. Red dug a quarter out from his pocket and clinked it onto the desk. Catch a boat for Thespia up north. I hear they have far more means for this kind of project than I do. So, Voy cast his puppy dog eyes to the floor. You don't think it would work? The wheels on Red's chair rippled across the red... Oh my god. The wheels on Red's chair rippled across the rug bumps as he shifted his weight again. He let another minute tick by on the clock. 8 remained until 12:30 struck. It was just as he said. He did not have the means for some kind of venture like this. He worked as a narrator in an office. Things had structure, rules. Then again, it's not like this sort of thing was never attempted before. Audiobooks and podcasts told stories like these all the time. 7 minutes remaining. It, Red spoke slowly, could work. Voy's expression shifted, making eye contact with the grizzled old narrator. But I'm not the guy for this. Why not? Frankly, Red said, I'm tired. And hungry. 6 minutes. As Voy fell silent, Red pushed his chair back and leaned heavily against the armrest as he pushed himself up. If he left now, he could get to the soda machine before the line got too long. Voy kneaded his hands in his lap as Red started moving away. 5 minutes. Mr. Aloud, you've narrated some of the greatest stories of our time, Voy said without turning in his chair. I didn't choose you at random. Kid, this isn't some heist movie. You're not getting me to come back for one last job. And even if I did, I'm not equipped for this. 4 minutes. Like hell you aren't, Voy stood up. You've written for main characters who are serial killers, superheroes, and hundreds of other dangerous enough to make the most normal people cringe. You just have this weird fixation that because I'm what you call a NaNoWriMo protagonist, that my story isn't worth a damn. It would have been easy to argue. The next lines could be filled with action and tension as the old veteran and the young hopeful butt heads, slinging venomous words at each other. Instead, Red slowly turned to face Voy. 3 minutes. You don't have a story, he said flatly. Imagine I said yes. What then? You shackle your author into this oath, but you can't cause an inciting incident yourself. You can't start your great adventure. Things don't work like that here. Do you think this would make for an engaging story? Red swung his arms about his rather average office space. Voi's expression melted from frustrated to defeated. You can leave your number with Rebecca on your way out. When you do have a story, so long as it's not a desperate rough draft like all those NaNoWriMo projects, let's talk again, okay? 2 minutes. It was obvious that Voy wanted to say something else. Something rattled in his brain, trying to formulate into a snappy one-liner. Something big to catch Red's attention and instantly change his mind. Voy stuttered out a couple syllables, but nothing coherent. 1 minute. His clients were often passionate, just like Voy. Dozens came to his office, wide-eyed. They changed as storytelling trends shifted, with the ebb and flow of readers. There was no way to take on them all. Some had complicated stories that wouldn't translate well. Some thought their grade school romance would work well, while others tried to pitch the edgiest drivel ever conceived. But every single one of them believed in their tale. Red didn't take joy in laying out the flat truth to them. Red pulled open the office door and stepped out into the hall. Lunchtime.